Hello, my name is Lisa Jets, and I will be reading the history of Jack the Giant Killer from Andrew Lane's Blue Fairy Book, so I hope you enjoy. In the reign of the famous King Arthur, there lived in Cornwall a lad named Jack, who was a boy of a bold temper. He took delight in hearing or reading of conjurers, giants, and fairies, and used to listen eagerly to the deeds of the knights of King Arthur's Round Table. In those days there lived on St. Michael's Mount of Cornwall a huge giant, 18 meters high and 9 meters round. His fierce and savage looks were the terror of all who beheld him. He dwelled in a gloomy caravan on the top of the mountain, and used to wade over to the mainland in search of prey. He would throw oxen upon his back and tie sheep and hogs round his waist, and march back to his abode. The giant had done this for many years when Jack resolved to destroy him. Jack took a horn, a shovel, a pickaxe, his armor, and a dark lantern. And one winter's evening he went to the mount. There he dug a pit 22 meters deep and 20 broad. He covered the top over so as to make it look like solid ground. Jack then blew his horn loudly that the giant awoke, came out of his den, crying out, "You villain, you shall pay for this." He had just finished when, taking one step further, he tumbled into the pit, and Jack struck him a blow on the head with his pickaxe, which killed him. Jack then returned home to cheer friends with the news. Another giant called Blunderbore vowed to be revenged on Jack if ever should have him in his power. The giant lived in an enchanted castle in a lonely wood, and one day came across Jack living under a tree wood asleep. The giant carried Jack off to his castle, where he locked him up in a large room, the floor of which was covered with skulls and bones. Soon afterwards the giant went to fetch his brother. Jack saw with terror through the of his prison the two approaching, noticed in one corner of the room a strong rope, made a slip knot at each end, and threw them over their heads, and tied it to the window bars. Then he pulled till they fell lifeless to the floor. Jack next took a great bunch of keys from the pocket of Blunderbore and went into the castle again. He searched through all the rooms, and in one of them found 3 ladies tied up. They told him that their husbands had been killed by the giants, who had then condemned them to be starved to death. "Ladies," said Jack, "I have put an end to the monster and his wicked brother. I give you this castle and all the riches it contains, to make some amends for the dreadful pains you have felt." Then very politely gave them the keys of the castle. Having hitherto been successful in all his undertakings, Jack resolved to be idle in future. Furnished himself with a horse, a cap of knowledge, and a sword of sharpness, shoes of swiftness, and an invisible coat to help him carry out the task that lay before him. Traveled over hills and dales till, arriving at the foot of a high mountain, knocked at the door of a house. Old man let him in, and then said to Jack, "Son, on the top of this mountain is an enchanted castle kept by the giant Galatus and a vile magician. He seized the duke's daughter as she was walking in her father's garden, and then they brought her here transformed into a deer." Jack promised that in the morning, at the risk of his life, he would break the enchantment, and after a sound sleep early, put on his invisible coat and got ready for the attempt. When he had climbed to the top mountain, he saw 2 fiery griffins, but he passed between without the least fear of danger, for they could not see him because of his invisible coat. On the castle gate he found a golden trumpet. under which were written these lines: "Whoever can this trumpet blow shall cause the giant's overthrow." As soon as Jack had read this, he seized the trumpet and blew a shrill blast, which made the gates fly open and the very castle itself tremble. The giant and the magician now knew that their wicked work was at an end, and they stood biting their thumbs, shaking with fear. Jack, with his sword of sharpness, soon killed the giant, and the magician was then carried away by a whirlwind. Then every knight and beautiful lady who had been changed into birds and beasts returned to their proper shapes, so vanished away like smoke, and the head of the giant Galactorus was then sent to King Arthur. The knights and ladies rested that night at the old man's house, and next day they set out for the court. Jack's fame now spread through the whole country, and the duke gave him his daughter in marriage. To this the king gave him a large estate on which he and his lady lived the rest of their days in joy and contentment. So I hope you enjoyed that story. I thought that story was really interesting. Never really heard it before, so what up? And yeah, see you soon. And bye.